When you look at some of the greats of wrestling today, you have to wonder, how did it all start? How is it that someone like John Cena, who went from just a little punk Newberry kid doing rap and stuff, became the face of the WWE? How did somebody like The Undertaker come out of nowhere at Survivor Series and become the Phenom and become, well, 21-1 at WrestleMania? And how did somebody like freaking Santino Marella become Intercontinental Champion right off the bat and then just kind of go up and down, up and down, up and down, and then fade away into obscurity? These are the questions we hope to answer in today's edition of the Haymakers, where we discuss some of the best debuts in WWE history. Greetings, everybody. I am the Toon Critic, ToonKriticY2K. You all know me. And, of course, I'm here with...
DJ Calcos.
And Nick AV.
So, with all these debuts, it was really hard to kind of just talk about 6 in this. And if you watch some of our last 2 videos, we're going to go 2 by 2 by 2. And I guess I'll start off this time with... what better way to start off than with John Cena. The guy... we all know as the face of the WWE, didn't exactly start off as like this mega multi-millionaire money-making machine. In fact, from what I remember when he just started out, he came out as like this regular generic-looking wrestler. Nobody knew who this kid was. This was on an episode of SmackDown where he interrupted Kurt Angle and just decided to coin the term, I believe, ruthless aggression.
Yeah. It happened because Vince, at the very beginning of the episode, was frustrated with his superstars putting on lackluster performances. So he goes, "You need ruthless aggression, ruthless aggression." Backstage, he did the same thing, and he goes, "Who wants to go out there and prove what they got? Come on, I'll give you an instant push if you go out there and give me a good show." And John Cena was the only one to raise his hand, purportedly. And so when Kurt Angle does his taunting thing, Vince McMahon said, "All right, kid, show me what you got." And he went out there, and then Kurt Angle asks, "Who the hell is he?" He says, "John Cena." And he goes, "What makes you think you could come out here and go against the very best in the business?" John Cena goes, "Ruthless aggression." And thus
socks Angle in the face.
And thus the name of an era was born.
Although, kind of a weird little tidbit about this. This is, I think, one of the only times ever where John Cena is wearing wrestling tights.
Yeah, very weird from when later on he just goes to jeans shorts, or jorts, as I think their people are calling them now.
Yeah, like, it just looks weird. We've seen Cena in jorts for over a decade now, and to see him just wearing fucking wrestling tights, it's just something that... especially with that low top haircut that he had back then.
Oh yeah, the haircut. The
That was
haircut.
great.
So remember, if I remember, he had even dorkier like hair back when he was like, what was it, like playing some sort of cybernetic guy. Picture what Ryback was trying to be, but kind of worse.
Oh yeah, the prototype, was it?
The prototype, yeah.
Oh man,
It was like an OVW.
Yeah, I heard about that. But yeah, he like when he attacked Angle, he actually got off to a really good start. And once Angle was able to kind of at least get back to knowing what the hell was going on, he was fighting Cena to a stalemate pretty much. I mean, Angle ended up winning, but like Angle was the best, or at least one of the best that the company had to offer at that time. And this kid, this new guy, was fighting him to a draw pretty much. And it was like one of those moments where you, after the match, go, something big just happened, didn't it?
You could tell right after this match that there's going to be high hopes for Cena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, actually, it was during a backstage promo that happened later on where John Cena goes out back and a whole bunch of superstars are patting him on the back going, "Dude, good job. I can't wait to see what you come into the future. That was great. Nice sticking it to Kurt Angle." And then the last one in the line was Undertaker, who towers over John Cena at the time, because John Cena was kind of short at the time. And you expect The Undertaker to challenge John Cena, but he does the exact opposite. He sticks up his hand, and John Cena takes it. Undertaker shakes his hand and just goes, "Good job, kid. You did fantastic. And then walks away. And John Cena's left looking at his hand going, what the hell just happened? And that is huge, because in kayfabe or in real life, ever since he debuted, ever since he arrived on the scene, ever since he defeated Superfly Snuka at WrestleMania, if you get the respect of The Undertaker, you will be pushed to the stars and beyond. And that is exactly what happened to Cena. 15-time world champion, face of the company since arguably 2005 when he beat JBL at WrestleMania. It was prophesized from his debut that John Cena would be the one to carry the company. And as much as we all hate him, from a financial and corporate standpoint, he's doing a bang-up job.
What also was funny is that I believe at the time also Undertaker was WWE champion.
Yeah, so that was
not only was it from The Undertaker, but when The Undertaker was WWE champion, you got it from not just Undertaker, but the champ. So that's even higher respect, I think. And it'd be funny because later on, Cena would turn heel and go to face Undertaker and, well, lose. But it was still a good match. It was still a good promo that they had leading up to it. And it was interesting because from then on, Cena would, I guess, rise up higher than before, and he would get to face, like, Angle again and Jericho. A match with Jericho was really good. And, of course, getting to Taker and stuff. The debut itself, though, I mean, the match was all right. I thought Cena did actually pretty good for his, first match in, like, WWE. But it still stands, I think, as one of, like, the more legendary SmackDown moments, too.
Yeah, it's one of those moments when they're talking about like a big milestone for SmackDown. They always show Cena's first match. It's pretty much something that they have to do. I think I'm next up. Cena had a great first match. And since he's been with the company so long, he's helped a bunch of other people get over with their first match in the same way Angle did for Cena. I mean, just look back at, say, someone like Carlito. I think Carlito's first match was against Cena, and he ended up winning the United States title first night, I think it was.
Yep.
And then you probably buried a lot of... But that's beside the point. But another one that got their first match against Cena, sort of, in a way, that they started off against Cena, was the Nexus. And how many great wrestlers came out at the Nexus? Like, that was one of the biggest singular just crop of young superstars getting pushed at the same time, and it kind of revitalized the WWE for a while, and it started in just a ridiculous way that I've never seen anything like before. As I recall, Cena was supposed to face either CM Punk, Jack Swagger, and somebody else. Like, it was a fan vote thing, and CM Punk, back when he was with the Straight Edge Society, ended up winning. Punk versus Cena. And they get out there and they have themselves a good old match, and it's going all well and stuff. But then Wade Barrett, season 1 winner of NXT, comes walking down the ramp, and then all of a sudden you look around the stadium and all of the other Nexus guys are starting to head down to the ring. There's Daniel Bryan, there's David Otunga, there's Heath Slater, there's Justin Gabriel, all coming down and converging on the ring. And at this point, I think Cena just hit Punk with an attitude adjustment. So he's basically in the ring by himself. And then they just swarm on him. They just, like, 5 of them go after Cena. I think a couple others go after Punk and Luke Gallows and take them out of it. And then all 8 of them just take turns wailing on him and hitting him with their finishing maneuvers. And Punk actually tries to get back in there and try and take some of them down, if not for Cena's sake, because they went after him too, but he ends up getting thrown out. And then after a while, they actually start tearing the ring apart and ripping the padding off of the floor and like doing everything short of ripping up the boards on the ring and just completely destroying it. And it was just such an emphatic statement right off the bat. And it was just like, oh, fuck, these guys are legit.
If you go back and rewatch the clip, it's so important because when you have all of them in a circle and they just start ransacking John Cena, and then they go after CM Punk, and then they go after the announce tables, and it was very smart that they went after the announcers first, because for the next 15 minutes, you don't hear anything. from
Yeah.
commentary. It's so silent. And another reason why it's silent is the biggest reason why you know this worked. The crowd didn't say anything. You could hear very little chatter starting at like the 5-minute mark of this whole thing, because this went on for like 15 minutes, and the crowd was just completely silent. Not silent because they didn't like it. It was silent because they had no idea what the fuck they just saw.
Yeah, and they took out everybody. They took out not only the wrestlers, not only the commentators, they took out the bell ringer, they took out the the timekeeper. The only people that didn't get beaten up were the camera people, and I guess that was sort of necessary, because if you beat up the camera people, then who's gonna like show your work?
It was one of the more surprising moments from Raw that I actually remember. Nobody knew what was going on, and I think some people thought like, okay, was that supposed to happen? Are they supposed to do this? It was so convincing. I thought a really convincing beatdown, and I can't believe it came from something like NXT. Okay, who here thought when NXT first started that it wasn't really going to go anywhere?
Me.
We all thought that, but then all the contestants
Actually,
from
I take
it
that
just
back.
go down.
I
Just
take that
beat
back.
the crap.
Because
Cena.
season 1 of NXT had Daniel Bryan in it, and he was really, really, really popular among the internet circles. Like he made his name in Ring of Honor, and he was really, really good. And just him being on NXT kind of made it sort of like, okay, maybe this is going to be something that's actually a thing. But then I think he was the very first one who got eliminated. So
Yeah, and then we're all just like, okay, clearly they don't know what's going on, so we just kind of turned our noses and left. But then they came back, and with the whole John Cena versus Nexus rivalry, that was something that you're right. It did revitalize a lot of things. It made wrestling interesting again, because you really had no idea what these guys were going to do. And it's even more interesting because later on, the Nexus would split up, but for a good reason, just like the Shield, would give us some great wrestlers out of it. Like Wade Barrett and Daniel Bryan especially.
Yeah, and later on, Bray Wyatt came out of the Nexus. Ryback came out of the Nexus.
Justin Gabriel
and
came
Heath
out of
Slater.
the Nexus, and Heath
Yeah,
Slater
Justin Gabriel and Heath Slater. Yeah.
Okay, the point is that when those 8 wrestlers first joined NXT, they were rookies. And in one fell swoop, in 20 minutes on Raw, they became superstars.
They became a legit force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and how long did that Nexus rivalry go on for? Like maybe a year?
It went on, I think it went on into... Did it make it to WrestleMania? I know it made it to like TLC.
No, it made it to SummerSlam. SummerSlam was the big thing where you had Team WWE versus Team NXT when Daniel Bryan... Actually, because Daniel Bryan was fired in 2000, right after that attack for spitting on John Cena's face and choking out Justin Roberts. He was fired right after for doing those things. But then they brought him back in because WWE realized that he was really, really good at wrestling, and he joined Team WWE, which was very controversial at the time. But that was the culmination of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, the Nexus. Hell yeah.
Speaking though of great factions.
Speaking, though, of great factions, yes. Okay, imagine yourself. It's the middle of the Monday Night War, and it had just started, and WCW was already throwing punches at WWEF at the time by taking a lot of their big talent, like Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Ted DiBiase, everything like that. And then, all of a sudden, a familiar face from WWE arrives on Monday Nitro in spring of 1996. His former name was Razor Ramon, but him, along with his partner Diesel, became Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, the Outsiders. So, where do we start with this one?
I think we start with the fact that this would eventually lead to something much bigger, but at the time we didn't know what these guys were going to do. They tore shit up. We thought it was just like one person, but then it started to be 2, and then it just steamrolled from then on.
Not to mention, I mean, this was before the age of the internet, so people at the time were even more confused as to what was going on, because if that were to happen today, then within about 6 hours we would have figured it out. But back then, people didn't know if that was Scott Hall / Razor Ramon coming into Monday Nitro without warning, just coming in trying to send a message from WWE. And of course the cameras are rolling live. If they shut them off, then everybody's going to know something's wrong. So they have to keep rolling, assuming that's the case. Or did he switch sides from WWE to WCW? And then his partner, Kevin Nash / Big Daddy Cool Diesel comes into the picture, and everybody's like, what the hell? This is nuts. What is going on? Nobody knew at the time, and nobody knew for the longest time until Scott Hall and Kevin Nash revealed that they were no longer signed with WWE.
If something like that were to happen today, like say at some point the Shield members were to jump ship and go over to TNA or some other
Sorry.
Good point. I take that back. Some other up and coming or Ring of Honor. Let's say they all jump ship and go to Ring of Honor.
Sorry.
Okay, let's say Donald Trump funds Ring of Honor and says, "Hey, here's $5 billion. Make some shit."
I can't even say that because
that's the start of a glorious fanfic right there.
That is. But I can't even say that because Donald Trump tried to do that same thing with the NFL and got his ass stomped.
Yeah. I think the point is that for the time, the Outsiders debut was something that we had never seen before. We had seen, I guess, a lot of others jump ship, but these two, at first, we didn't think was going to be important until, if we can bring this up, the NWO forming. We can essentially talk about the NWO as well here.
Pretty much. I mean, that was a very big deal because the Hulk Hogan was constantly pressured by Bischoff to turn heel, saying it would make him more relevant. But Hulk famously said, "Until you've walked a mile in my laced up red boots, you will never know." And just shut Bischoff off entirely. And Bischoff said, "Forget it. I'll make Sting the third member of the Outsiders." It was supposed to be Sting, but eventually, one of Hogan's closest friends said, "Look, you have in WWE The Undertaker, a guy who's dead. He's a babyface. Come on, you have to make the switch." And eventually, Hulk Hogan called up Bischoff and said, "I'm the third man." From there, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Hulk Hogan became the new world order of wrestling. And that following Monday, on Monday Nitro, WCW would begin the infamous 84-week winning streak against WWE Monday Night Raw.
Man, I remember seeing a clip where people were throwing trash into the ring. And that makes me wonder, when's the last time in WWE we had people get so outraged they were throwing trash into the ring?
You would have thought it would have happened after Batista won the Royal Rumble, but, like...
The signal for disapproving of what you saw isn't throwing trash in the ring, it's not doing anything. Not booing, not cheering, not doing anything. Because when Rey Mysterio was announced, they started booing nonstop. But when Batista won... silence. Nobody did anything. That's the signal for disapproving. If the WWE Universe, I hate saying that, wants to send a message, they stay silent. No chatter, no booing, no cheering, no nothing. And that's what they did at Royal Rumble 2014.
They booed Rey Mysterio? I don't remember that.
They didn't boo Rey Mysterio. They booed the fact that Daniel Bryan wasn't in the Rumble.
Ah.
Yeah, since he was, Rey Mysterio was number 30, so that meant that Bryan had no shot at getting in. Anyway.
Regardless, NWO is one of the most infamous factions that, WCW has made and that WWE tried to bring back.
Lol.
And from what I remember, that didn't work out too well. Okay, now this debut is one of my all-time favorite debuts. Okay, so let's take you back to the first ever Hell in a Cell match between Undertaker and Shawn Michaels. This match was to finally trap Shawn Michaels in Undertaker's, vice-like hands, just to stop him from getting away, just to beat the ever-loving shit out of Shawn Michaels. Still one of the best Hell in a Cell matches, and it looks like Taker's gonna win. He has everything all set up, then all of a sudden, everything goes dark. And you can see this red light coming from the entrance, and it's fucking Kane. Kane's debut, when he just walks up to the cell, yanks off the door, gets into the ring, does this signal thing to Taker and tombstones him, and then just leaves. Nobody could have seen that coming. No, we had never seen a wrestler or somebody like Kane in the WWE for quite some time. This red and black shaped giant, just as tall as Undertaker, just squashing Taker like that.
Taker was in the WWE for 7 years at that point, almost 7 years. And The Undertaker, for all that time, was a dominant force. Like, we keep seeing Cena as a guy who never loses, he keeps constantly burying talent. That was The Undertaker back in the day. The Undertaker was seemingly unbeatable, except for a very small handful of times. And this was the first time that he had been manhandled by another person. So that just made it even worse. By the way, I would just like to mention my all-time favorite moment from that debut. Oh my god! What is it? That's gonna be Kane! That's gonna be Kane!
Did they have any build-up for whenever he came out? Like, was there, like, on a Raw before?
Yes, there was so much build-up. For months, Paul Bearer kept saying, "Your brother's coming back! Kane's coming back!"
I miss Paul Bearer now.
I think we all do.
Rest in peace, Paul Bearer.
So, yeah, there was like months of build-up, and people were wondering, who the fuck is Kane? Does he even exist? Are they screwing with us right now? Come on, give us the goods. And they did. Oh yeah, they did.
It eventually led to, I believe, WrestleMania, was it 14 or 15?
It was 13.
13. Okay, my bad. It was WrestleMania 13 where we had Undertaker versus Kane for the first time, and one of...
Sorry, no, I'm wrong. No, it was WrestleMania 14. Sorry.
Okay, 14. Never mind. WrestleMania 14 where we had one of Undertaker's best matches against Kane, where we saw Kane at the peak, I think. Whereas now, like, Kane could get beat like Ziggler or somebody. This is where Kane was just like, you punched him, he didn't even move. He was like the Terminator, in a sense.
Fun fact. People don't seem to realize this, but when I say, just another emphasis on the whole Undertaker was the dominant force, Kane was the first person to kick out of a tombstone.
Oh, that's right, he was.
That just goes to show how dominant the Undertaker was and how frightened people were of Kane.
They made Kane up to be such a dominant force. Hell, you know what? I remember, and I don't know if many of you remember this. Does anybody remember the little book they made called Journey into Darkness?
I know the
they
title.
They made a story, an actual mini novel of sorts, chronicling Kane's return to the WWE, making it seem all so real.
Wait, a K-Fabe book?
Yeah, it's like they actually wrote a backstory. Like somewhat of a legit backstory for the Undertaker versus Kane rivalry. I'll put up an image here. If anybody remembers this book, like it's a really good book too. Like the way it's focusing on Kane and how he survived what happened, and then he started building himself up to come to the WWE and stuff.
How cool would it be if today we would get a book like that for somebody like, say, Bray Wyatt? A Bray Wyatt backstory book.
No, we just leave that to fanfiction.net, but then again, that's not the best place to go.
What is up with you and wrestling fanfiction?
I don't know, because most of the wrestling fanfiction you'll find is Triple H x HBK.
Holy shit, I can see that.
No joke. I used to have a friend who looked up all this wrestling fanfic stuff, and she was obsessed with Triple H and HBK fanfics. There was Cena and Orton fanfics. There was, you know what? That's for another time. We should just make a whole other discussion on WWE fanfiction. Oh my god, I'm dying over here. I'll find some. Don't worry. I'll find some of the worst you'll find. Anyway, back to Kane. Yeah. Kane, when he first started out, was amazing. He was just as strong, I think, if not a little bit stronger than Taker. And they made him a believable force. They made him an unstoppable giant. The thing about Kane, though, through this debut is that he has constantly managed to adapt. He has always been changing his persona. Through tiny bits and pieces, he still manages to stay that demon. Even when he was corporate Kane for a while, he still was, the demon in a sense.
Yeah, he still maintains himself as the demon, even though he wears a suit and tie now.
But it's just nice to look back at Kane and just wonder where things might have slightly gone wrong.
we're talking about some really great wrestlers here today. We're talking about Cena. We're talking about Daniel Bryan and Wade Barrett and Scott Hall and Kane. Let's talk about Santino Marella.
Nick, are you high?
Only slightly, but let's talk about him.
Okay, and what Nick's trying to say is that Santino was a comedy persona where the only time after his debut that he was over was Elimination Chamber 2012 when he almost won the thing, and that would have been amazing if they flipped the script and had him win it because the pop would have been nuts. But his debut will forever live as his most special moment and, surprisingly enough, one of the best debuts ever.
I take you back to April 2007 in Milan, Italy. Umaga and his manager, anybody remember Umaga's manager?
Emilio something.
Emilio Estevez is one of the Sheens.
Emilio something Estrada.
Yeah, that's it, Emilio Estrada. And Estrada is walking Umaga out, and he's commissioning an open challenge to anybody who wants a shot at Umaga, and is even throwing in the Intercontinental Championship, which Umaga has at this point, and nobody comes out. So he turns to the audience and goes, does anybody here in Milan, Italy want a shot at Umaga? And he points to this one guy in the audience, and he introduces himself as Santino Marella, comes into the ring, and the fight starts, and he actually holds his own with Umaga, which was shocking at the time because Umaga was in the middle of one of those pushes where he was the monster heel at the moment and one of those unbeatable monster heels at that. So him getting his ass kind of kicked by some guy out of the stands was just shocking at the time. And then Estrada halted the match and said that the match was now no disqualification. And as soon as he said that, Santino turned around and got just crunched by him. I think he hit him with like a
Samoan spike.
Yeah,
or a spear or whatever.
A spear, and was getting ready for a Samoan spike when all of a sudden Bobby Lashley comes running down the ring, takes out Umaga. No disqualification. He can do that now. Takes out Umaga, and Santino's still out. So he physically picks up Santino Marella, sets him on top of Umaga. 1, 2, 3. Ladies and gentlemen, your new Intercontinental Champion, Santino Marella.
Nobody could have seen that coming. Nobody would have thought that this nobody was, going to win the Intercontinental Championship on his first match. It is a great Raw moment. And to see him then, I guess, sort of flounder a little bit, it was still good. I liked what they were doing with, Santino.
Yeah, I watched it live, and I was watching it with my little stepbrother at the time, and we were just going nuts. I was telling him, this is the kind of stuff they make movies off of. This is insanity. Because Umaga was unbeatable at the time. I think he may have lost a couple times, but he was in the middle of a feud with Bobby Lashley, and Lashley was he was competitive with him, but at the time Lashley was just as big and tough as Umaga was. So that's what it took to beat Umaga, and this guy, just a guy, literally pulled out of the audience and was given the Intercontinental title. It was kind of nuts.
Can I also point out that Umaga and Bobby Lashley also had great debuts?
Yeah, I remember Bobby Lashley's debut. That one was... Can I talk about that real quick?
Yeah, that was the one against when Simon Dean was doing his, fitness instructor things. All of a sudden, friggin' Bobby Lashley comes out.
Oh, the best part of that was when I think it was Justin Roberts. No, it wasn't. It was some other guy. But he was announcing his credentials, Lashley's credentials, and he was like, he is a 2-time All-American, a 3-time Armed Forces champion. And as he keeps listing off these credentials one after another, the look on Simon Dean's face just washes out. Just,
he's just oh shit.
I made a horrible mistake. And then Lashley comes out and his eyes bug out of his head.
Yeah, and then of course that leads to Lashley having Simon Dean eat a bunch of hamburgers. that was really kind of stupid, but yeah.
But
And
it was-
Umaga came after, I think, one of the WrestleManias, and he just ripped apart Ric Flair. He started ripping everybody left and right, and he was so over he beat Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Damn.
He was
You got to
also,
admit, that was...
yeah, he was also a really good wrestler. Watch some of his
Yeah.
matches. For a fat guy, he can move.
Yeah, he was one of the most nimble big guys I have ever seen. May he rest in peace. Take my hat off for him.
But as far as Santino goes, there's a reason why they call that match the Milan Miracle. And it was very confusing to see Santino fall so quickly.
Yeah, he went from that to eventually having a tea party with Vladimir Kozlov and Sheamus. Anybody remember that?
Yeah.
I choose not to.
I choose not to. As
I
well.
wasn't around in watching WWE at the time, and I'm
was back
kind
in,
of
like,
glad I
2010.
wasn't. And he has a Royal Rumble record that may never be broken.
Oh,
One
yeah.
second.
1 second.
Eliminated
I wasn't
by-
ready. I wasn't ready.
Eliminated by Kane. I think the Warlord's record may have been broken.
I like how we actually ended up tying that in somehow. We still tied Kane into this.
Perfect.
The only other memorable thing we've had for Santino is the whole Glamazon thing between him and Beth Phoenix. The whole the whole Glamarella thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Elimination Chamber 2012.
That as well.
Yeah.
Those have been like his only standout moments, and I don't think he's going to be wrestling for a while, or is he? I don't know.
Yeah, he had a neck surgery, but he's talking about possibly making a comeback at some point, which would be, if he can get some kind of push, that would be kind of cool. But
he's a fairly good wrestler. He just never got the time to do it. I really, really wish he won Elimination Chamber 2012. Things could have been so different for him, so different for the WWE, for him to have been champion and even lose it at WrestleMania. He could have lost it at WrestleMania because he's easy to write plot lines for, let me tell you. Things would have been just so much better if he won. Hell, even if they stripped him of the title later on due to some bullshit disqualification thing, the fact that he won would have been very similar to Jericho winning the championship against Triple H in April of 2000.
Yeah, it would have been really nice to have his name kind of etched in there as a 24-hour champion. Like, you're looking through all the greats, like, okay, let's see, Triple H, Jericho, Santino, Morel. Really? It would just have his name etched in the World Heavyweight Championship record book for just 24 hours, I think. You're right. It would have been amazing. It would have cemented Santino's name, I think.
been the greatest
Speaking-
WWE title reign since David Arquette.
Oh, boy. We'll have to talk about David Arquette at some point.
I don't even remember David Arquette. I'm glad I don't.
He was in the WCW, and wow.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Speaking of 24-hour championship reigns, we come to a debut that marked a newfound appreciation for wrestlers that were amazing but never got their due. It was summer of 1999, and a very, very special debut happened between him and a whole bunch of other cruiserweights from WCW coming into WWE saying, "We are here and we will not be ignored." That was the debut on August 8th, 1999 of Chris Jericho.
Chris fucking Jericho.
I2J.
We saved the best for last.
Oh boy. Okay, let's start in spring of 1999. Chris Jericho's contract was up with WCW and he decided not to renew. So his diehard fans in WCW are wondering, will he go to WWE? No notice happens for a couple of months and people were thinking, okay, he got fed up and he's done wrestling. It's sad, but I can understand it. Then all of a sudden on Raw, there's a countdown to the millennium that appears at the end of one of the episodes of Raw sometime in the spring. And it said, it was like, what was it? 999 hours, which is approximately 4 weeks. There's this huge announcement that's going to happen. And then on one day on Raw, The Rock is shooting a promo, and then the timer comes up, 20, 19, 18, all the time making that demonic boom wee sound effect. And it just keeps going. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, a droning sub bass comes across the speakers. Lights start shining. The lights go out. Boom! A bit of pyro. Music video with a slow rock drum beat. And then you see the name Jericho.
That moment right there, I think, other than like his return in like 2007, just had everybody erupting. They were some happy people back then. To have Jericho just show up, being one of the Rocks in the ring, like, the fuck's going on? To have Jericho come in and utter that first catchphrase for the first time.
Welcome to Raw is Jericho!
I still love that catchphrase. It was amazing for the time to see like Jericho jump from WCW to WWE, because especially interrupting The Rock, that's a really good debut right off the bat.
Well, what's best about that debut is the fact that Jericho being the talker on the mic that he is, and The Rock being the talker on the mic that he was, they were able to get themselves both over. That doesn't happen in a conflict promo like that. Usually one person goes over the other person, but they were both over after that promo because it was so funny, so entertaining, and just so revolutionary to see this cruiserweight, after 5 years of hard work, after 5 years of neglect and abuse by their previous boss, Eric Bischoff, come in and take it right to the main event. God, that was satisfying. Sorry, I'm getting excited. Because this debut was just... The clock, the interrupting The Rock, and the fact that the WWE was true to their word when they said, right from his debut, they were true. They said, you cruiserweights, you guys are going to get the reception and the treatment that you deserve. And they were true to their word. They didn't fuck it up. I'll tell you that much.
For a while. Because not only that did we get Jericho, we also got Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio through this.
And Dean Malenko.
Yes. The Radicals.
And a whole bunch of others. And those cruiserweights were over for like a solid year starting in 2000. They were all over. And then Chris Jericho does the impossible and unites the titles. April 17th no, it wasn't April 17th, 2000. That was when he went over Triple H. But no, it was Vengeance 2001. You know how everybody back in late 2013 were all going crazy because, OMG, the titles are getting unified. It happened 13 years ago when, Chris Jericho beat Stone Cold Steve Austin at Vengeance 2001 as a heel. He unified those titles. Fuck you, WWE, for lying. Fuck you.
Not to mention, he also beat The Rock in the same night.
He beat The Rock in the same night, and then he defended the unification at No Way Out 2002, once again at Stone Cold Steve Austin.
And won.
And
from what
won.
I remember. This put Jericho at like one of the highest peaks, I think, because a cruiserweight from WCW managed to defeat not just The Rock, but Stone Cold Steve Austin and unified the titles all in one night. A cruiserweight from WCW managed to do this. We will probably never see something like that in like a long time. Just saying that out loud just makes me love Jericho like 300 times more now.
Oh man, if you go watch the match with Triple H in April of 2000. Wait, did I say 888? I apologize.
888?
888. 888. The number of the Triple H. That whole fast count, I mean, Chris Jericho got over immediately. Eddie Guerrero got over immediately. Rey Mysterio got over immediately. Dean Malenko got over immediately. They were all over immediately. The WWE did what WCW could not and would not, and that's put the cruiserweights in the true spotlight. They weren't just cruiserweight wrestlers. They weren't just high flyers. They were the guys.
What a good time to be a little guy in the WWE.
I know.
The whole thing was signaled by Chris Jericho's debut, and that's why I feel it is the most important WWE debut ever.
I would agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's us for debuts and stuff. I gotta say, we actually went through this pretty quickly, and we covered a lot of great debuts. So Guys, put down in the comments what are some of your favorite WWE debuts, and also we might make another installment of this, and that means you can yell at us to include the ones that you thought we should have put in.
If any of you guys put down Brodus Clay, I will kill you all.
Because nothing says more epic than fucking Barney the Funkasaurus.
What, the human suplex machine wasn't
Well,
good?
what made it worse was all of the vignettes that he shot beforehand. He shot all of these vignettes that was supposed to bill him as this terrifying monster, which Brodus Clay looks like the terrifying monster. And then he comes out dancing to hip-hop music, being this dinosaur bullshit. What the fuck were they thinking?
They trolled us. They effectively trolled us.
So if you guys put in Brodus Clay, I will end you. We're gonna get so many Brodus Clay comments.
Brodus Clay is the greatest wrestler ever. How dare you not mention him in this No. Well, yeah, thank you guys for listening. Of course, leave your suggestions and stuff in the comments, and we shall catch you guys on the flip side.
By the way, I'm not actually high.
Could have fooled me.
Oh.